motion to declare an open meeting.
So moved.
Second.
First and seconded, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. Motion carries. The Open Meetings Act is posted on the door back there, if you're here to read that. Roll call, Krista. Here. Dr. Thor.
Yep.
Trent.
Yeah, here.
Here. Wyatt.
Yes.
Myself here. Full board, it's been a couple of months. Okay, well now approve the consent agenda. We'll start out with the minutes from last month. We have to start out with this month's agenda. Minutes. It's a short meeting. So on the agenda were the minutes, we'll move to the financials.
See, one of our CDs matures the end of the week. That rate's gonna stay the same for the next year, which I suppose is a good thing. Stay at 2.2%.
We're kind of on track where you thought we'd be for this year, but we're $1 million down from last year at that time. Is that kind of nothing out of what you wasn't expected?
No, we haven't had anything unexpected in terms of, you know, a boiler go down or a massive roof issue we're concerned, so, no, we're about in the ballpark, yeah.
Well, we'd be a $500,000 down to the payment we made for the train as well.
Yeah, we've had some
Yeah, we had a
massive payments.
building payment.
So of course, we had 1.25 from Ameris that we borrowed, but we're paying back. But we've had a lot of activity in the building fund, certainly.
Okay, we'll go to claims. Any questions on the activities, reports? Sure. What is Agile Sports Technologies? They got almost $2,000.
Was that
What page is that?
Page 3 of 3 on the activities.
Okay, that's a renewal, so that's an annual expense. I don't know, I'll have to get back with you on that.
So you don't have anybody that comes, physical therapy or anything like that?
No, we don't.
I had a question on that too.
Okay, a couple more, back on the next page then with Robin, Dr. Earl, Kyle, and Chad all got pretty good sized checks. So Dr. Earl, yours is from interest. Why is that?
That's not actually made out to him, that's received from. So that's an interest payment from, because the interest from the CDs go into the activity.
Well, that's your deposit.
My name
Yeah,
is
it
on
was,
the account.
yeah, so
So-
it was received from him.
So, and FFA is Chad Command, so these are not,
Okay.
yeah, these are not checks to these people.
They're just on the account.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that can cash them.
Yeah, it's actually received from, so, but it's
Not
just
money went into the
run
account.
through the sponsor of that account.
Security cameras for,
Yes.
what are those for?
We're gonna put some exterior security cameras behind the elementary building and some illumination, which has been kind of planned for years. We have a ways to go with providing surveillance in 90% of our facilities, interior and exterior, really. We have no exterior cameras, so and that, you know, was a conversation that I've had, you know, a couple of times since I've been here, that we kind of need to get the ball rolling on that again. So, we've got exterior cameras coming on north side of the elementary and on the west. Certainly on the playground equipment, some illumination. The same company's gonna put a couple of new strike plates for our key fobs, one by the new band door that's coming in yet, because our band gal has to come and walk all the way around. And then we're putting a strike plate on the back of the elementary. We use that door that goes straight out the north. We use that for recess, and so they send a kid around to unlock it, so we're gonna put a couple strike plates in, so. And then we're gonna do a complete assessment interior-wise of our surveillance. And we've got some upgrades we need to do. We did a few years ago, I think we put 4 new cameras in. If you look at our screen, which shows our 12 different cameras that we have, you can see the ones that are 12 years old, the ones that are 4 years old, kind of fuzzy, kind of grainy versus very crisp and clear. So it's a safety and security issue, but that's what that is through DSN.
This might be a question for Tom, but can you, maybe those strike plates, if you turn teachers fob on for one, are they on for all of them, or can they designate?
No, I think he can designate times, dates, different places. Well, I know he can. So he can program a specific fob for particular doors, particular times, particular dates.
That kind of comes into play too with outside coaches with little kids get fobs to come in for practice and stuff. I didn't know they get into everywhere then, or just.
It's pretty handy, but of course, once they're in the building, then they're gonna have access to it.
I have a couple questions here on, back up a little bit, I guess. The dance team, or what, if we don't have one, what do we do with those funds? Just leave it in there?
Yeah.
So it could be in there for 5 years?
They'll just stay there, and
They can't?
determine, we could roll them into something else, but, we'll probably leave them there to pay for maybe an entry fee to a dance competition or something, or if they have some travel expenses.
I would like seeing how that kind of plays out in the next couple of years anyway, see if we can get something going again, so.
I expect that we will.
And Kelly, like, what do you do, like, if someone, I see some of these checks that are outstanding, like in November of 2018. Do you contact them and then they have X amount of days to cash them?
I usually just, I've kept them on the books, waiting for the auditors this time to see if there's some specific way that they want us to handle it, since we're getting new auditors this year.
Can't you just cancel it and write a new
That's
check?
that's probably what I'd like to do. I'd like to go ahead and just take them on. But most of the time, I don't contact somebody. I
Okay.
mean, the onus is on them, they've received the money somewhere.
Mhm.
They just never, I mean, if you,
I didn't know if there was something on the check that said
Not
not good
valid
after
and-
6 months or.
no, but
No.
I kind of wanted to get rid of them, but he wanted me to keep them on the books for at least a year, and some of them have been on a little bit over a year. But so I just thought I'd wait till the auditors got here and see how they went,
See
what
what I'm
procedures
doing.
they want me to use going forward.
Okay.
Any other questions? The agenda? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second that?
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carries. Anybody want to talk tonight? Okay, let's get public comments then. Bill committee reports, discussion items, transportation report. You are up, Robert.
Well, I guess we have a couple buses out there that haven't been used for a couple of years. One of them's got a bad motor in it. And we need to see if them go for salvage, if we can just contact salvage yards, or if we gotta put bids out for them. But they're doing us no good and taking up room. And then the other thing is there's a couple doors out there that are getting in dire need of replacement, overhead doors.
On the shop or on the?
Yeah, on the big shop.
Is that drive-through? Doesn't.
No.
So
They're
there's
too
two
deep
doors on
in
the
there.
south?
Well, there's 4 doors on the west end of it we drive into.
2 of those are the ones that are bad?
Yeah.
On your little shop, there's 4 doors on the west?
No, we're
No,
gonna park the
on
buses.
the
Oh,
north,
there.
where the buses
Oh,
are
oh,
stored
Brush
at.
head.
Well, I was told they moved that building in '72, and there's a wooden door that's there from that yet, so.
That one's
It's
still
probably
good,
done its life. And then there's a metal one that's right at 30 years old that's, gets good. Every time you go to use it, you climb up the ladder and re-spool it. And
Tell me about the two buses. One doesn't have a motor and the other one does.
yes,
They full size?
they're 53 passenger, both of them are.
2000s.
They're 2000s, they're both 2000s. The one's got a 3127 cat motor in it, which is, that was their new electronic motor the year that came out. It's got some electrical issues, but it's pretty well wore out at this point. The other one is a GMC, and it's got a gas motor in it. And it either has a cracked block or a cracked head or something. It's blowing through the radiator or but antifreeze into the oil pan on it. And at that point, it wasn't worth spending the money on fix. So.
Is it 125 about, a bus is gonna top out 125,000 miles on? And are those all country roads, or were these started as activity
They would have
buses?
started as activities, but usually, well, at the point most of these come in, they might have got run activities maybe a year. Because the other stuff was all wore out so bad, we needed to try to get another one and move them in. And then at that point, we were running 7 routes. So,
The diesel motors, they usually run quite a bit further than the gas motors.
Were these new? Did we buy them new in 2000?
both them were bought used. They were a 1-year lease out that we picked up from Midwest Transit out of Kankakee, Illinois. So they had less than 12,000 miles on them when we got them, but, well, in the starting and the stopping and running the gravel roads too, it just rattles them apart after a while. It's not like you're running to Sioux City and back with them, you know, and then you put on a lot more miles.
Well, yeah, you know, Bob, if we were to do the same we did with those other vehicles, I mean, if we advertised them and took bids, is that gonna be a waste of
I
time?
think so. Everybody has trouble getting rid of their old
Yeah.
buses.
Do they go down the road or no? I missed that. Can you drive?
The
either
one's non-drivable.
One doesn't even run.
No.
So
You're gonna be basically scrap price is gonna be your best bet out of them.
have you stolen all the tires and all good stuff
Right.
off of them? It's all been taken.
Well, the tires on the one aren't bad, but everything else has bigger tires on it now.
So basically, yes, you've got pretty much everything off of them.
Mhm.
Used someplace else. So is like Norfolk Iron and Metal buy that kind of stuff?
Well, it's usually like, your scrap dealer over by South Sioux. There's a lot of buses parked in there. They'll buy them, and if they can take some parts out and sell them, then they scrap the rest of them out.
C&H over there.
We had a couple of them go out to Lexington. The scrap, or salvage yard bought out there. What's the one in O'Neill? That's C&H, isn't it?
No, Tusker, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's correct.
Husker out there then.
C&H.
I know they could get some out there too, and, well, Stilling had the high bid on our last one we got rid of. There's a Google's over at Randolph, I think, that's always looking for vehicles and stuff to buy for salvage, so.
Do we want to put an ad in the paper just in case there's somebody local that wants to match price, or then call around to these other places and see if you can get a bid?
See what they'll come up with on them.
Okay, I'll come.
Because I mean, while they're sitting out there, well, we've got them, we're paying insurance on them and everything too, and
And you don't ever drive them? or
No.
Planning on ever driving them?
nope.
They're just in the way.
Yeah.
They're just in your way. So, I mean, I go snap a couple pictures, get details and throw it in the paper.
I don't think you need to put
I don't
out
even put a picture, I just put
pictures.
a verbal, or read a description and
Everybody knows what an
Yeah.
old yellow school is.
Yeah.
they don't vary that
Maybe a
much.
picture would probably help.
They want to look at them, they know.
And Dwayne Dean's not here any longer, so, because he bought a couple. And they parked them down on the south side of town, and then I kept getting calls, why is the school bus sitting there? Pretty soon I'm down there with the razor taking the Plainview off the side of it.
Good
Put
idea.
Osmond on there.
They got drug out to his farm, and I think they're probably sitting out there yet someplace.
Yeah, we'll see what we, Bob, you and I'll see what we can do to
But, yeah,
get
well-
them off their property down there,
Yeah.
and we'll come take a look at those.
Like I
overhead
say,
doors.
get them off the insurance and that type of stuff too, so.
Okay, everybody's all right with that?
Yeah, somebody you wanna go with for the doors? Any idea? Overhead door? Or-
Probably price round if I can get, yeah. Though, the one needs a little work done on the hole, but it wouldn't be that big a deal to do. And the other one could just be replaced at that height. The one got raised up, but then wasn't put in quite right for the way the raise and the springs come out on
So is it down by something Norfolk or down by ourselves locally?
it.
Could it be made?
Gary Over put the last one in, and he's no longer. Some of the, I had 3 or 4 guys gonna come look at them, and they never had time, and
Warren Garage, out of Norfolk anyway, they've used to have headers for us, quite a few, putting
Okay.
doors in for us, on all sheds and stuff, so, I don't know.
Between Warren and overhead, right there, the only
Yeah.
two.
One of them, I would think, would come, is it an overhead door or worn door, do you know?
that old wooden one.
Homemade.
Probably a caveman special or something.
I would say the one that's fixable is get it fixed, and the one that's not, I don't know, do we need to? look
The
at that?
other one's not fixable neither.
What's the dimensions of the wooden one?
Oh, it's gonna be a 10 by 10 or right in that area.
You want the door, Jim?
They sell for a hell of a lot on Facebook.
Are they?
A lot of people use them for headboard and stuff like that. I can see the old barn doors go between 500 and 800 bucks.
What's a big overhead door for a big shed cost?
Most of ours are 12.5 foot clearance anyway on those, and 16 foot wide. You better figure 4,000 to 5,000, including the opener, anyway.
And these aren't
Chain
16-foot
drive.
wide doors,
No,
are they?
no.
They'd be
No.
tall, but.
The
I
opener
think
should be
they're
heavy
10.
enough if it's a wood door now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
No, there's no openers on them.
Oh, they slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no.
So they're slabs.
Just get you
Springs on them, and, yeah.
That would be a nice
And some of them didn't get them quite high enough, and then they bend up, and I've been up there at midnight, picked one up off the roof of a bus and put it back in, so we should close up.
It'd be nice to have those just be overhead doors and automatic openers, and you're scooping them out and chipping them out, the ice and stuff. I'm sure it'd be
Might help
nice.
keep a bus driver.
Exactly.
As
Might
well.
be-
So you got what, one that needs to be replaced? and
Two.
Two that
Two need to be replaced and
Yeah.
one worked on?
No,
Just two replaced?
two
Two, you're
replaced.
replacing one door frame that needs to be worked on to.
Let's
Yeah.
get some bids on that.
Okay.
Call those guys to come out and see what we're dealing with. We should.
Do you think it's worth advertising that door, Jim? With the buses?
Sounds like you was gonna buy it.
It's $500.
I've patched it with wood and stuff too, where the hinges are on. I put plates on there because there was nothing left in parts, and I don't know.
I'll swing by and look at it.
Yeah. You'll notice it's the only wood one there, so.
I just don't wanna scrap it, you know, if you get.
Yeah.
a few parts
Yeah.
out of it. It doesn't take nothing, take a picture, put it on the exchange, that's all you gotta do, I'll do that.
Worst thing, I have never to do anything with it, you know?
Use like our old cell
So
number,
we can
call
take it
between
away.
midnight and 2 in the morning.
That's right.
Stay away. Was that on the answer?
So you're gonna get quotes for us and bring it back next meeting, or what? Give them to Dr. Earl, and present it?
Yeah, I'll get, better put them on it then, and
Yeah, I'd call those two companies, they're pretty reliable. They'll come work on it, anyway. If you have problems too, they'll be out here in a day or two.
well, Overhead come out, this was about 10 years ago, and got done adjusting them all and everything, and he looks at me and I said, I never called you. I said, what are you doing? Well, this is the county shed, isn't it? I said, no, but thanks.
Oh, that's funny, I'm sure they get the bill.
Well, maybe you should call and tell them we need 2 doors in the county shed and give them your address.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, and visiting with Bob too, I mean, we don't anticipate any major route changes. I mean, we went, was this our first year or second year of 4? We went from 5 to 4.
Yeah.
So we're gonna maintain 4 routes, and there won't be too much dramatic. Bob will work on that, he'll get the map ready and get it in the paper as usual, and he's still out recruiting drivers, so.
Nobody's bid on the.
Oh, I got a couple I'm working with, but if you got any names, throw them at me, I'll go talk to them.
Do you have enough to run the buses? Because I know in December, Ellie leaves, Tom's gone, it's part of that month. What do you do for bus drivers?
Well, if Dan Keith was helping us out yet, I'm pretty sure Keith is done.
Again,
Well, he was last time. He did have his 82nd birthday this spring though. And with him and then with Lee's job changing on him, he's in Norfolk, so he can't help anymore.
Right.
And I've got, the one guy I'm talking to runs a lawn service. And I said, you know, even in the fall a little bit, Ellie'd probably be around yet or something, you know, if you were busy. But by the time that gets done, you'd be done with that.
I tried to get old Chauncey interested in it, he's thinking about it. Cause he moved to town, he can walk down there.
There you go.
He's up cracking on for no reason anyway, might as well give him something to do.
moving to town in a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Probably made more than Brian's paying.
You see him, tell him he's gotta drive bus. Tell him I
There you
said
go.
so.
How long does it take to get them through the?
It depends upon what they've got, because they did some changing now. And now, like at the courthouse, with the one guy I'm working with has his CDL already. So he'll just have to go add the endorsement, and then we've gotta get the level 1 course through it, and then do the background checks and their license check and get their physical done. And they switched our physicals to 2 years now instead of 1. So, but if you gotta go through the whole deal, you gotta go do the written for the CDL, and then you have to have a learner's permit for at least 2 weeks before you can do anything else. New drivers, for a new CDL, you have to have an appointment someplace, probably either in Norfolk, O'Neill, or Madison. Pierce or none of these small ones will do it anymore. So, and then get through the level 1 course, and then the instructor on that does your walk around inspection and all that with you.
What's the average time frame to start to complete on a route?
Probably about an hour and 20 minutes when the weather's good.
Yeah.
That's just the driving, or that's?
That's
bus
from
out?
leaving the shed until they get back. Hour 20 to an hour and a half.
So do you think it's the people don't wanna go to all the work to get the CDL, or do you think they just don't want the responsibility of driving the bus?
A lot of it is the liability with it anymore. You get somebody that's retired and they're going, okay, I got my retirement fund sitting here, why do I wanna jump in a bus and get in something, lose everything I had?
Are they liable themselves?
Well, you're gonna be somewhat, if you have a driver's error, they're gonna come after you.
The school doesn't cover that.
Well, the school's gonna cover you on what they
They'll
can.
sue everybody.
Yeah.
They'll sue the school, the driver, the bus manufacturer. And of course, this spring didn't help at all.
No.
Trying to encourage people to, you know, get in a bus. Bob does a great job of piecemealing his drivers. And of course, Bob, you drove probably 50% of the time, either morning or afternoon. So, I mean, I think the unicameral's doing what they can. They've relaxed it a little bit, maybe not enough, but they've relaxed the rule a little bit. And board's done what they can by making us as high a paid bus driver as you can get for relief.
Do you have to have a CDL to drive the small buses?
Anything over 15 passenger.
Like the short little buses.
You have an activity driver
We're only
yet?
got 11.
Somebody in mind?
got 11 passenger.
Right in
van.
that
I mean, you know,
activity,
if that's what we gotta go.
Not really.
Thinking about hanging that up then?
No, I just wasn't saying that.
I still think if we had a dozen people that threw their name in just to be part-timers, so you could take time off and somebody else is there to fill in for you, it'd be easier, but they'd all have to go through the stupid schooling to do
Unless they drove
Well,
11
it used to
passenger.
be, they thought fight over, okay, I'll drive this one. Okay, you got that one, I get the next one then, or whatever, and now it's like, trying to get somebody to do it.
How many kids do you have on the bus, you know, like, a typical bus, how many kids ride?
Well, if they all ride on what is set up out there, they're all right at 13 stops. Some of the stops will have, probably the biggest one is the one that goes down by Dr. Thor's, for the number of young kids on it. And that one will come in with 20 plus. And some of the other ones might come in with 5 or 6 when nobody's riding. But then at night, there might be 6 different kids ride home that didn't ride in the morning, and the ones that rode in the morning didn't ride home.
You just never know for sure.
Yeah, you gotta be prepared for the max.
Yeah. But it is kind of frustrating to see, you know, when the buses pull out, to see, you know, usually 2 out of 4 of them they have maybe a dozen kids or less, and you're thinking we could do this with a van.
I don't know if the pay raise helped us any, but sure made the Creighton School Board mad because their company up there wants the same wages now as what we were given, so.
They say when you go 30 years and you're a percent behind the rest of them and you catch up, the rest of them don't like it.
So if we went with somebody like that, I mean, you would be out then, right? If we went with a company like Creighton does?
Uh-huh.
Because they would take care of their own buses.
And I heard he's trying to get rid of that. Boardman is. Trying to get out of that. He's getting tired of it, he says, because he can't find any help.
Well, there you go, you could run the whole thing.
Yep.
That's what you're looking
Go south for the winter.
All right, well, keep working.
Keep on keeping
It's all come together every other year in the past.
Yes, we'll get her figured out somehow. You'll be the first to know.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, number 9, summer facility projects.
Okay, well, you saw some carnival flags up on the roof, so that section of roof, which the board approved last year, we locked in last year's price for that, so that's in the budget. So that'll be done, as we've mentioned, you know, our roofs are in really pretty good shape. Doesn't mean that we still won't have a wet ceiling tile here and there, but still always something to still plan for, but we don't have anything major on the horizon with a roof repair on either building. If Bob was still here, he might mention his bus shed. You can see the 1920 building looks different than it ever has with those units hanging on the side of them.
Is there one on the other side?
Yeah, there's 2 on the other side.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's
That's
4. There's 4 on the east and 2 on the west.
Okay. I saw the one, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
They're what?
They're done with those?
No, still installing and the electrical wiring done. Mike Nick's doing the wiring, so. But, you know, if you go up in a room, you can see what these units are in the classroom. I mean, they'll do the job. I've had 2 teachers already that teaching that building and have for years that are like, you know, it's about time, thank you. And I said, when you see a board member, make sure you thank them. So that'll be nice. Ruts starts next week. I talked to Jim Buckley today. Jim Buckley is a perfectionist, and he started with the most difficult task of all the doors, which was the right thing to do. And he's not satisfied with it. That's why they're not hanging there yet. I said, Jim, you know, I mean, I got an answer to the board tonight. First of all, Jim, can you come to the board meeting tonight? No, he didn't. He's working on it. That's why he's not here. But he He's not happy with the cuts in the glass that's going in those gym doors. Now, he knows they need to be on by a week from Monday, 2 weeks from today. We gotta seal that gym because the floor's gonna be done. And then he has 32 other doors to finish. And those will be simple, taking these off. Simple, I guess, but I didn't ask him,
We
you
gave him
know.
the go-ahead to go ahead and fix all the hardware and stuff, right, last month?
No,
We didn't.
we didn't.
You're supposed to price it,
We
right?
didn't, we're gonna need that, so I'm guessing that hardware will be coming later. You know, if we do that, and we probably should, I think you'll want to when those are done.
Can you do that when they're already back hanging and just replace? Probably not. 'Cause part of it's
Well,
the
that's a
hinges.
good question, I don't know whether he can put that on, those mechanics on when, after they're hung or not. I would think he could, but I don't know. So, that's, and this doesn't surprise me, it's taken longer, much, actually, it doesn't surprise me that he's behind. Because and I knew this about it, when he put in the cabinets in the elementary, I mean, he was working, it was in and out, and in and shim, and back out, and shim off the shim, and, I mean, he wants it done well, and I expect we'll be pleased with the end product, but
Has he
I
brought
don't
it back
expect we'll
up?
have all the doors done when school starts, but.
Has he brought any of those doors back up and tried them? You haven't seen them?
Oh, I don't know that
You haven't
if he
seen
has,
them.
I don't see him. Okay, if he has, I haven't seen him. So, Glass Edge is gonna put the new band door on here in the next couple of weeks. What else?
What's that?
Lighting, Jake Pete got all his lights in.
That door that's in the band room, they go in and out there with a lot of instruments. Is it wide enough? Or
It is, it's a super wide.
It's a wide.
It's an extra wide.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the door that we have to use to get instruments to the Tartan gym. That won't go through the door that goes into the Tartan gym from that hallway. So, everything's in progress. It will all be done. The main thing is that 1920 building better be cooled on the 12th of August. And it looks like Carlson's will have their work done. It'll be my commitment, to finish that up. If he has to come and finish doors on the weekends, we can deal with that. And of course, ruts, hopefully they don't run into something unexpected, don't anticipate that, but. So, other than that, Gail and his crew are doing everything that needs to be done in the right time as far as I know and can see and can tell.
How's the cement holding up? We had talked about
We
doing the rest of
did,
that cement over there.
yeah, and then we kind of spaced it off. I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, we had kind of put it off a little bit, thinking if we ever do anything with the new front entrance. So, I mean, it can last another year or 2 or 10, honestly. So, other things certainly higher priority.
Hey, what did we do? Did we talk about Rule 91 and 92, and I missed what we talked about?
Rule 91 and 92 are the transportation rules, so Bob touched on those.
Okay.
That was a change to the CDL driver.
He could have bored you a lot with some of the details of that.
Okay.
Okay, number 10, Watson Building.
Okay, so, obviously I reconnected with you on that when I heard from Al last month. Last conversation with, and I told him, I says, we won't be able to move quickly on this, so if you're highly motivated, we're probably not gonna be part of the discussion. Certainly appreciate him contacting us. He told me on the 25th of June that he had a bid that he needed to respond to by that coming Thursday. That coming Thursday was a week ago last Thursday. And I asked him a week ago today if he had responded to that bid, and he hasn't. I haven't heard from him. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is. So Susan's here because I had reconnected with Susan as well, because I wanted her to be, I wanted the city to know that maybe the Watson building's back in play, and I contacted Creighton and Osmond, and they both, so it's a solo project or a city school combo, if anything, but it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to, unless Susan found a pot of money.
It is a bit of money, but I was at a Young Professional Summit last Friday, and I talked to the Workforce Development Coordinator for Norfolk, who has connections with Continental and a number of the manufacturers in the Norfolk area, it is a project that they're looking for. So you would be basically like a public-private partnership with some businesses in the Norfolk area, some factories. You might have to expand beyond just auto tech and offer some other things. Northeast Community College was also at the summit, so after the conference, we all went out to dinner and talked about it a little bit, and Northeast Community College would be very interested in being part of the conversation. So you've got a number of manufacturers that might be interested in working with the project with you. If you were able to pull in some of those Norfolk businesses, you might see Osmond and Creighton come around.
Mhm. I think you're exactly right, Susan. If I could see Northeast wanting somebody to move forward with them. They're not gonna stick their neck out too far. They're getting burned a little bit in O'Neill. They invested a tremendous amount in O'Neill, and it's very cool up there. They're, you know, how they expected, you know, that facility to go. But just like Al was interested for his own business, personal business reasons, which makes sense. There, I can see several other Norfolk businesses partnered with Northeast, saying, "Hey, let's, you know, let's make something happen here. Let's get creative. Let's."
So is O'Neill not working because the kids aren't going to the classes?
I don't know. I just know that they thought that would be a bustling learning facility up there, and it hasn't taken off yet.
That's what concerns me, is doing it by ourselves is, I just don't think we'll get enough kids to maintain it.
So how was it left, Susan? I mean, is there another one of those meetings coming up? Or, of course, the building could be sold for all I know. I should find that out. Or somebody else that has a connection with Al. Should find
Usually
that
if
out.
someone's gonna buy a building of that size in our town, they would have contacted the city, me or somebody would know something about it. That's the first I've heard that he's had a bid on that building.
Okay.
So I can look into that, but the next step would be, if you wanted to take the next step forward, I would start making some of these, start meeting with some of these people from the Norfolk area, the schools, the manufacturers that start working with workforce development out of Norfolk, which we can also bring in the state, the DED, and just start having those conversations. And from that collaboration, you might find more participation, which will help you sell this program. So it's not just you guys doing it, even though it's housed here.
So what do those businesses bring? Do they bring like tools and supplies that you need to run the classes, or do they bring money, or what?
Both.
They do bring just cash to let you?
I worked with Newport last year with Pierce. Pierce had started a STEM technology program. They needed a CNC machines and plasma cutters and a few things. I reached out to Newport, and together Newport contributed $20,000 plus some additional. We were able to use their supplier for the machines, so we got their discount, Newport's discount on those things. They sent a curriculum over, and they shared some of their staff, or their technicians came and helped implement some things. So that was just one partnership. You'd be looking, Continental was actually very interested, so.
What's Continental do?
They do the tires.
Hoses.
Tires.
Tubing. Yep.
So what kind of a class could we put on them to help them?
I think they're just looking for workforce partnerships. There's gonna be kids that can go through, I mean, that's skilled labor too. You need some machinery
Right.
skills, some computerized skills. Anything that you can bring in like that, they'd be interested in. I think you just need to start having a conversation to see how that, just start organically. Let's see what it turns into.
So why was the city interested? What's they want out of it?
What does the city want out of it?
Yeah.
I don't know what Mike Holton wants out of it, but for economic development, we would like to create a workforce that stays here.
Okay. But as far as the building, I mean, as far as putting something in the building, or, I mean, you talk daycare has been floated around. Is the city looking into that part?
We
To
talked
me, we
about-
need to talk to somebody that knows, can you have a welder in the back room and a baby in the front room? I mean.
Right, I did find that out, because we did talk, we can't. The safety issues, chance of fire, you'd have to create some kind of a firewall, a pretty big one, I think. It just didn't seem like it was gonna work out real well, on that side, but in the cities move forward, we're moving forward with our community center, which will have a daycare in it, so we're kind of pushed it over there. But, as far as, I don't know where Mike would want to be involved, but, you know, I think the city would want to be interested in being some part of this project. Where funding comes from, I don't know. You know, we have our fiscal year coming up in October, so if there's anything there, we want to get it in the budget, in the books. There are grants available for this kind of thing through the state Department of Economic Development and also the Department of Labor. So there's a number of things we can look at. But like Darren said, this isn't gonna be a quick project. You're not gonna have this done, you know, right away.
It'd be nice if you could find somebody to get the price of the building down, find somebody to make a donation, get the building bought, and just start working with them. You gotta kind of start backwards and work your way forward.
I'll find out tomorrow. Yeah, I'll try to find out tomorrow what the status is on the building.
Because the guy could throw an offer out there to him, but you gotta have the money to back up the offer. It doesn't make any difference if he comes down to $120,000 if you don't have the money.
Yeah,
Write the
we
check.
can say, you know, pending a budget approval, you know, we have, in September, we'll be approving a budget. So,
I'll have it sold the building, I'd at least get an option on it. So he can, get, that gives you guys time to figure some things out. I'd at least put an option in.
it's a good space, but I think he need to be half again where he's at.
So I can bet you there's gonna be a lot of insulation and wiring.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
all
Well, I was
that
gonna say,
stuff.
it's gonna take a lot to get it back up to code.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that much money back into the building probably.
More than what the purchase price is.
At a bare minimum, a guy could use it for a bus barn and shop. Get rid of the other ones instead of putting money into them.
Yeah.
If you get a bar right, you know.
Yeah.
Can't put up much for a building for $100,000.
There's by doors in, all the doors are.
Right. Well. Think about it, keep talking about it, I guess.
I'll see if I can, get something definitive from him.
Okay, thanks, Susan.
Yep.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay, number 11, welcome back dinner for the teachers.
All right, our annual, it's our recognition of service and welcome back dinner
So
for.
the new staff has to put this all on, right? Do all the
Yes,
cooking?
the new principal, is in charge.
Can't do that to her, she's not here.
So as I look at the calendar, I think Tuesday the 13th is really the best day when I'm thinking about the teachers and what this week looks like.
August 13th.
Yes, August 13th, because the 14th is the day before the first day of school, the 15th is the first day of school, the 16th is a Friday. So I mean, that Tuesday is the first contract day back. That's usually what we try to find is one of those days. So I think Tuesday the 13th is a great day. You just need to decide where you want to have it and who you want to have cater. I've taken care of the recognition this year. We don't have any for 10 years. We have 2 for 15 years, and that's according to policy. A plaque that I found it's not a plaque, but it's a little recognition piece that honors 15 years of service. We don't have any for 20, and for 25, and every 5-year increment, they get an extra personal day, and so that's Jolene Bowman 25, Bob McCabe 30, Joe Wagner 30. So we have 5, according to policy, that will receive a recognition. Spouses are strongly encouraged to attend at their own expense, and this is all staff, obviously. We've been to Country Club, we've been to Mary's.
Or Mary's last year, last couple of years, actually. I know when you came on, we were at
I
Mary's.
think we were at Mary's the first year, then the club, last year Mary's. And Scott, no, Bob from Tiger Tavern, I think, catered when we went to the club 2 years ago.
But that's not open anymore for right now.
Yeah, I still would suggest we have catered, but maybe we go out there. And I don't know that there's an advantage to either one, it's just entirely up to you. But is the 13th sound okay, Tuesday the 13th of August?
Sure. Sunday. Never know.
Sounds like every other day right now.
Gotta be careful crossing the street.
Do we know that the golf course is available then?
I don't.
Try to rotate.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It's a little, area's a little nicer at the golf course, it's more
Yeah.
open and stuff. Presentations and stuff.
I don't know that they have anything on Tuesday night that's sacred.
The golf course.
Could be wrong.
Not that time of year.
And Thursday would never be good, but no, Tuesday,
We step out and call.
we could.
Safe through.
Do you want to, oh, you're step out and call, I'm sorry. I thought they said you could step out and play golf.
Right.
You could. Kelly, is it 3, 4, 4, 5? Right.
That sounds like a number I could give you.
Here's
That
a
is
golfer.
right. Kathy's usually Joni on the spot with the phone.
All I do with the golf course is look
3,
at all
4,
the balls
4,
out in the
5.
field when I'm spraying. Thinking, I gotta stop pick that, I gotta stop pick that.
Good evening, thanks for speaking.
It's amazing how some guys can hit
Melissa?
the ball from that driving
Hi,
range.
this is Dennis.
Straight west. I mean, it's gotta be intentional, it's way out there.
My call says we spraying today, you guys wanna line up, go ahead.
Well, I'm more concerned that I haven't fried the grass on the driving range.
Okay, this would be about 5 to 8. Catered meal. Okay, would you just in pencil put school 5 to 8 and I will confirm with Kathy on the 13th of August, Tuesday. Thank you.
We're gonna play around, huh?
Yeah, not the way I play golf.
Okay, that is available.
Bring your camera.
Yeah, that'd be about the,
Ain't any better.
I'll cater it.
Yeah.
You want me to set that up?
just have
Sure.
one clear.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and then, we have a meeting the night before, so, I mean, otherwise, I mean, any of the details, you know, I mean, there's not much to do, but I'll take care of that, and, the 2 awards for the 15-year service.
Recognition and then all the new members.
Yeah, you'll have a big list.
Yeah.
You'll be busy.
Okay.
All right, number 12, review board policy 304.03, handbooks, and 402.01, 402.04 personnel.
All right, so I did include in your packet a 30403, and it's just kind of a, you know, a language thing. You can see I just suggest striking and principals when it says administrators. Principals are administrators. I mean, it just cleans the language up a little bit. Doesn't change the meaning or anything. But it's just a suggestion for 30403. The handbook we normally have for the board in July, but with a 100-page handbook and 2 new principles, they've been, you know, plowing through it, and we're gonna probably see some pretty good revisions next year at this time. But I did ask them to both go through it page by page, and if there's anything in there that they're like, okay, wait a minute, this, I just don't know if I can live with this, which I don't anticipate anything. But it's good for them to go through and see that we have a whole lot of stuff in there that essentially is in policy, that doesn't automatically need to also be written in handbook, but it is in that. That's the way it is, and we can decide at a later time when it's necessary to have it kind of duplicated. And also in, you know, a lot of languages in, well, I just leave it at that. Most of it's in policy, but, so, you know, Kyle and Heather have both commented, holy cow, 100-page handbook, that's pretty cumbersome. Well, okay, but that's not that unusual. But but they're going through it pretty careful, they're gonna get that to me, and so then I'll kind of plow through it, have any language changes for you. I don't think that we're gonna have anything that's gonna change the way we operate, anything too dramatic, but we'll bring that to you, next month. It's not gonna be anything that, oh my gosh, how are we gonna start school if we're debating a change to the handbook? Handbooks are not policy per se, but they reference policy.
You ever have somebody comes in, has a complaint or an issue, whatever, and said, brings their handbook in, says, it says in here, or pretty much, they never look at it, you never hear about a handbook again after they go out.
Most of the time, it's very rare where somebody says, well, your handbook says this. Okay, but always, there are circumstances that, and variables in certain situations where administrators have to have some autonomy to make decisions that might not be written this way in handbook. But certainly there are things in there that you wouldn't behave, contrary to it. I mean, it's guidelines for a tremendous amount of variety of things, particularly what parents are most interested in are consequences of certain behavior and what the guidelines are, and things like dress code as well.
Well, it's about the only chance they get to see some of the policy, because they're not gonna look at a policy book. That's why I asked if they ever bring it in and said, well, your policy says this, but they never really look at the policy anyway.
It's pretty rare. Usually,
Is there a government agency that requires us to have a handbook from that direction? Because I know I have to have handbooks for my facilities, and they get, Medicare wants to look at them and that kind of stuff.
if you have policy and you reference that, and you say, this is essentially our guidelines and procedures, and you're covered. But a handbook is supposed to generally be the regulations that help explain how you implement certain policies. But ours has become, like I said, pretty thick. It's no, yeah. There's nothing that says you must have a handbook. But you do have to have something in writing that you provide people to give them certain understanding of how you operate. But we've got policy manuals, so that would cover us. See, we don't have a staff handbook. A lot of school districts have handbooks for staff. We don't really have one because our negotiated agreement is essentially, it tells us almost everything that we need to know in our relationship and what we do, what our responsibilities are, what their responsibilities are. We don't need a handbook to say, this is how you log into the copy machine. This is how you submit a request for leave. We don't need to put that in writing. I mean, it's just, figure it out, So I think, it could be handy. We could probably figure out a way in between, Kyle and Heather and myself, we may decide, well, there's certain things that'd be nice to just, here's 10 pages of the major, guidelines for how to this and that and the other thing that new staff would probably really appreciate. So that could happen, but we don't have a staff handbook.
So are those things the same for all certified, non-certified, as far as days off? And
They would specify whether you're a certified or classified employee. So for 30403, I would just suggest striking "and principals" after the word administrators. District administrators covers principals.
What about to be approved by board and/or superintendent? What is that?
What
In that
paragraph?
same 30403, is that what you're
Yeah,
talking?
what paragraph?
It's the second one, last sentence there.
Okay, the board therefore expects all handbooks to be approved by the board and/or superintendent designee. Well, I guess you can interpret that, I guess, however you feel. I mean, I think the practice has been that the board approves the handbook every year, and I think that's good for the patrons to know that it's a board-approved handbook. I mean,
you just don't want to read all 120 pages, do you, Chris?
No, it just says "and/or," so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, we could
gives you some flexibility, I guess.
We could assign somebody to approve it, and we wouldn't have to mess with it.
Yeah,
Well, I
we're-
said, I think we should.
Yeah,
It's
but
board
the way it's
policy.
written,
Right.
we could assign Dr. Arlen to be in charge of it, and we wouldn't have to.
Right.
Okay, and then on 40201 and 3 and 4, I mean, I think that the language is all appropriate. I don't think there's anything necessary to change, just good to get your eyes on them once every couple of years. Okay, so I don't have language for a motion to approve the 30403 with revision, but probably should. Striking 2 words doesn't change any meaning.
Or leave it, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, again, you could. I think it cleans it up, it takes something out, because it's a redundant term, as far as I'm concerned, but
It's the same thing we've been doing.
we did that
couple
last
months.
month quite a bit.
I'll make a motion to approve the revisions to policy 30403.
Second.
Okay, it's been first and second. Dr. Thor?
Yep.
Krista?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Why?
Yep.
Tim?
Yes.
Trent?
Yeah.
Motion carries. Okay, continue on with action items, number 13.
So do we need a motion or for approving the other 2, or is that next up?
There's no changes.
Okay.
Just a review.
Just reviews, not revised.
Unless you saw something you want to change.
No.
Discuss and take possible action on appointing Dr. Darren Arlen as State and Federal Programs Director for the district.
An annual July formality.
Make a motion.
Yep, I'll make a motion that we designate Darren Arnold as the State and Federal Programs Director for the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Thor? Krista?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. 14, discuss and take possible action on lunch prices for 2019-2020 school year.
Okay, I did go back and listen to our conversation last month, and Trent brought up a good point. I thought we'd just let this die for lack of motion. So I had to kind of go back and think, well, how did that conversation go? Because I remember we asked Linda even at one point about, well, how are our funds, or is there gonna be any changes in prices and stuff? And I heard her say something about, well, you know, fruit and vegetable prices may be going up. And so I did talk to Nutrition Services at ND as well, shared with them, and I've shared this with you a couple of times. They think our prices are certainly pretty low. Their concern is if your prices are too low, and if you're not paying your kitchen staff well, if you're not investing in new equipment, kids aren't probably getting a good nutrition experience. They feel a little bit like you get what you pay for. If you charge a little more, they should expect a little more. And I think that maybe applies to us, because we've been talking about that a little bit. What improvements can we make? And what should we expect, and what should parents expect if we say we're gonna raise lunch prices by a nickel or a dime or a quarter or whatever? And by gosh, if we're gonna do that, then we better make sure that they're, getting more of what they would expect in their
Because
kids'
don't we have
breakfast.
some equipment over there that's just gonna get put away?
We have some equipment
Not being
that,
used?
I think, Krista, that is rarely used. I don't know that we have anything over there that's just taking up space. But, I know when I
I
brought
thought there was a
in,
big mixer over there or something.
there's a big mixer, and I think it's rarely used. I don't
Yeah.
think that's something we get rid
That
of,
would be
but,
something we could
yeah,
check into.
yeah.
Usually we got, and buy it, so it's there.
Any
So-
idea what a nickel over a year's time amounts to?
No, I mean, we could go and look back and see how many lunches we serve, and
Right.
do a little bit of math, but, the nutrition service has something called the paid lunch equity calculator, and it's a formula. They plug it in and they look at our free and reduced and our federal dollars and what all our prices are. And they make recommendations on what your prices should be, and you guys know that they think ours should be higher. The consumer price index for food away from home increased 2.68% last year. And so they kind of expect that lunch prices go up every year in every school. And ours aren't the lowest around, but they're in the lower half. There's no doubt about it. And even our extra entree, they're like 65 cents for a whole extra cheeseburger or whatever you might say. Boy, that's a pretty heck of a good deal. So after talking with her, I just have something for you to consider. Again, it's a total board decision, obviously, being aware of the economy and everything else, but, haven't shared with you, I think, with bringing in, somebody new running the kitchen, it's an opportunity to maybe expect something different. I don't know if different's the right word, or more's the right word, or, but again, if it could be a bit of a contract with our people, if we're gonna ask for an extra dime for a lunch, for example, well, what is a dime kitchen, I don't know, but,
8 to 10.
particularly the adult prices, and I don't know why they think, why that's,
So this is what you got out of that formula you were talking about?
no, the formula is theirs,
They didn't
and
tell you what
she
was-
suggested, Nutrition Services suggested $3.50 for a lunch, $2 for a breakfast for our adults. No, $3.65, I'm sorry, last year they recommended $3.65 for an adult lunch, and we left it at $3.15. We don't sell a whole lot of adult
So what do you serve, like 20?
We don't sell even 20 a day. But it is a pretty doggone good lunch, actually. I mean, because adult's not as picky, so when I see an adult go through, I mean, you ought to see the tray of food Dean Boyer eats every day. I mean, he gets his money's worth. Kids are a little different story, but, I mean, and again, it really doesn't matter to me, but I just sharing with you that now would probably be an appropriate opportunity to maybe raise the price nominally, and then use that a little bit as a, okay, but now we're gonna expect it will be different. This year will be different in some way somehow, and we know some of what that might be maybe, and Lynn's gone to one training, she's going to another about food service and preparation.
So they're saying to raise your lunch prices and then you're supposed to reinvest it back into the.
Yes, to a certain extent, absolutely. You should always make sure you're paying your kitchen staff well, so you got good people in there that want to be in there, that have some expertise, if you're lucky enough, that stay, but also investing in equipment, environment, just so the whole dining experience is pleasurable for kids, because it's the best one that many of the kids get during the day.
Obviously, you can spend more money on food, and have just better food, but more of a variety of food too, that would cost more that you could spend that money on, or not necessarily? You get what you get and that's what you feed.
Yeah, I don't know that, Mike, whether a variety of food's gonna cost more. I think that's just, you're always aware of, okay, if we get too fancy, we got finicky kids. Well, let's serve them what they're gonna eat, and we get caught
You
in
get more
that
choices,
trap.
you're gonna get more waste too.
You get caught in that a little bit, and that's usually a primary concern for your food service people, is how much is getting wasted. Some places offer peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day to any kid that wants them, and half your kids in second grade and below are eating peanut butter and jelly, because they like it.
It's cheap.
No. They pay a full meal price,
You don't need to pay
because
it.
they also throw an apple in there, and a carrot stick, and milk.
We should throw away.
So it's a reimbursed,
Yeah.
reimbursable meal. So, it's something for you to consider, I guess.
So just looking at, the history, it's about every 2 years we have a little bit of an increase.
20 lunches a month, it's $1 more a month. Maybe one lunch a day. You get breakfast.
For students, $1 a month, $9 a year.
Doesn't come out to a whole lot.
I don't have a problem with this proposal.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Want to make that?
You want to just address it as current trends.
If you're, I mean, for example, if you're comfortable with what's highlighted here, I would just make a motion that the lunch prices as presented.
Proposal.
Yeah, as presented in the. by
So,
Dr. Hawk.
You cop out.
Hey.
I'll make a
I'm going
motion to
die.
set the 2019-2020 lunch prices as presented to the board. This proposal.
Second.
By Dr. Arnold.
Okay, it's first and second, Trent.
Yeah.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Krista?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, 15, discuss and take possible action on revision to board policy 706.01, purchasing procedures.
Okay, so I did forward to you, our response from Bobby on that, and indeed, you're correct that adding the word responsible is designed to allow you to factor in things other than strict price, including good or bad history with the better, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, your intuition was right, but it was worth finding out before you adopt the policy. So it wasn't approved last month, it needs to be approved this month if you're comfortable with that language, which there's no reason to not.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve revisions to policy 706.01, purchasing procedures.
I'll second.
First and second, myself, yes. Krista?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Motion carries. Okay, report 16, activity director's report.
I have a meeting with Mr. Reed tomorrow. Talk about a couple of things, mainly just to reconnect. He's had some personal health things that he's been taking care of this summer. But says he is anxious for school to get started, so.
So I think we talked about, he didn't have to come to every meeting, but he should come at least at the beginning of each season.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Quarterly
don't think he
would be-
was here last year.
Quarterly would
Yeah.
be good. I think he might came once or twice, but yes, at the start of each season would probably be appropriate, the end of the year then.
Yeah.
So you can give a report on the end of the season, beginning of next.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, principals report. Been waiting a long time for this, haven't you?
Not much, too much to it. Heather and I sent out postcards to all the teachers to set up teacher meetings. Just went in and looked. I have about half the high school staff signed up right now to meet with. I don't know how many she has yet, but I'm sure she's getting some back. But we'll get that started this month. I think we start on Thursday. I went down and talked with Donna at the library about the innovation studio that's coming in and kind of options that we have to get our students involved with that and get them some different experiences with the technology and machines they're bringing in. So trying to get the ball rolling on that.
Can you go into detail a little bit more on what that is?
So here coming up at the end of July through I think September, they're gonna have a vinyl cutter and some of that stuff, so you can create different designs, window stickers, things like that. Maybe kids can make locker stickers, I don't know for sure. We haven't really got too much into it, but things they can just like have for themselves and just get them interested in some different graphic design, things like that. They have 3D printers like after Christmas, and I know there's a lot of really cool things you can design with those, so just anything we can kind of get them thinking about, interested in, involved with, things like that. So just wanted to see kind of time frame when we can have kids there, when she prefers us to not have kids over there, things like that, so we can kind of get things scheduled. And then I went down to the city and met with Mike, just to introduce myself and talk about football facilities and our outdoor facilities, to go over practice locations, things like that, what's an option, what I can and can't use, things like that. So that's kind of just where we're at with that.
How's the practice field looking?
Underwater the last time I went by it,
A
but
lot of tracks.
yeah. But I know the first 2 times we've gone out and done stuff, we used the main field and went behind the goalpost there. But I really don't want to tear that up too bad, so trying to find viable places where kid safety is going to be not in question, so we're able to practice and be successful and not have to worry about kids rolling an ankle because they're stepping in holes or car tracks, anything like that.
So the area to the east that we talked about, is that wet there too, or is that stay drier?
That was underwater too.
It still is?
I don't know if it is anymore, it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's probably the direction that Kyle and Mike's conversation will go is, you know, how can we make this better for the city and for the school, this space, how can we use this space better? But it obviously needs a lot of work, it needs to be raised several feet and all that, so hopefully we can, you know, keep that conversation going. I kind of turned that over to Kyle to spearhead that a little bit and see what it would take to do that. There'd be an investment by the city, investment by the school, but I think it's probably a necessary one. Because as far as I'm concerned, the traditional space that's been used the past several years should not be used. We should not put our boys out. So what are our options then if that space isn't available? And it's gotta be obviously somewhere close. You have your playing surface. We have a large east end zone. But that'll take wear and tear after so long. And you got a big old baseball field and you got a lot of space that's not part of the field, you know, along the foul lines and all that. Is that reasonable to try to spread the wear and tear out there? I don't know, but,
So the city does own that to the east?
yeah.
Okay.
And he said he's waiting to hear back from the engineers for sure if they can fill that in. Said he's supposed to know in the next couple of months, so that's what he's kinda waiting on.
A lot of water drains down there, so how do they, if they raise that, how do we keep the water moving? And where does it go? So that, obviously, that's an engineer.
If that's our best option for this fall and don't have time to get it done, is it dry enough now to use? Is it better than the other spot?
So the problem with the other one's just wet?
Well, it's wet and it's tired.
It's used as a parking lot.
It's a swamp
Right
and it's a
now.
parking lot.
That's the problem.
So when it was wet and cars would drive in there, you know, I mean, there's 2 to 6 inch car tracks.
Summer through fall, that area is used as parking lot, unfortunately, for
Soccer
baseball and
field.
for
Yeah.
soccer. You might have 150 cars parked down there on a Saturday morning, or even 3-4 times a week, you know, during the summer. And it doesn't matter if it's dry or wet, it's been roped off, people ignore it, they drive through it. And then when the football team is practicing down there, there's a lot of traffic down there around them. And it's not wide enough really to practice on, is it, Kyle?
No.
I mean, it's too narrow, and so you have balls flying out onto the road. Anyway, kids are chasing after it. Anyway, cars are going in and out for soccer practice or other activities that are going down there for youth activities. You'd have something a little bit more isolated, yeah.
It's a great parking space that would, if, you know.
It's
if
not
it
even
were-
a good parking
If it
spot.
were to be
It's
rocked,
horrible.
yeah, I mean, if it were to be dedicated parking, and it was treated that way, but it just, out of sheer practice and necessity, it is. And because baseball and softball has been revived in our community, you know, that's great. It's just created a tremendous amount of traffic down
And
there.
we've tried keeping people off of that, like I said, roping it off and making them walk, like say, parking by the football field and walking that part, but there isn't enough parking out there,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
I mean, you can fill up the outside of that football field pretty quick, have everybody walk back, and it's just not enough. It's a mess.
Can they use the baseball field or no?
So we can use the outfield of baseball.
That's what we used to do when we were.
Right,
in
and
school, but I don't, maybe they changed it, I don't want.
They have a soccer field set up on that,
Oh,
you know,
right.
part of the time, and I'm not saying you can't use the soccer
Do they
goals.
do that in the fall? I thought soccer was in spring.
No, they do in the fall, they do, but there is enough room there. I know Blake used some of it last year anyway, when that field got so wet at times. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure that can probably be used, and Kevin Lingveld would be the guy to talk to a little bit about that. Yeah, whatever you can find, Kyle.
We're working at it.
Yeah, I know you are.
Backyard you got.
I know you are.
That's right, might have to. Mow some lines out there, start playing catch.
Okay, President's report, I don't have anything, so Superintendent.
Okay, let's see, Patsy watched a webinar through Power School. We're gonna provide the opportunity for families, as you can see there, to pay lunch bills online. Most people will think that's worth the $2.50 transaction fee. Just be more convenient than sending a check with their kid. So it doesn't cost us anything. It's through our Power School. It's just a convenience to families that want to take advantage of that. And I bet we'll have several that will enjoy just, not, plus administratively, now Patsy will have fewer people probably that she'll have to, contact, okay, lunch bill's low and all that. So it's just it's a nice feature through our Power School that we can add. Mr. Schmidt and Mrs. Thompson and I have met several times and collaborated quite a bit digitally on preparation for school coming up. That pace is going to pick up a tremendous amount now. I told them when we first met in early June, I'm going to try to leave you alone as much as I can in June, but once the 4th of July is over, we're going to be good. And they've already been working, they've met without me, they've been in their offices, so I mean, we've got great momentum heading into what will be the second half of July. We go to Administrator Days in Kearney. We'll be together for 3+ days, just kind of putting some finishing touches on those first, the start of school, and certainly the first week, and how we want that to go. So that's been, as good as I could hope. Otherwise, I just have a lot of routine summer business. I got a notice from the Department of Ed Financial Office that the budget documents are done by the state auditor, so I've downloaded those, so I'll start plugging in last year's AFR numbers and get the process going for that. Nothing, too dramatic. We did get word of another kindergartner potentially moved to town today. Not the grade, we'll take kids in any grade, but that's the grade we really don't want to have continue to grow. But by gosh, we'll take them all. So right now we have the luxury of an additional teacher, which isn't really a luxury, more of a necessity. And so we've got our second grade class split. They've been split since kindergarten. We split them, and that group ballooned up to over 30 at one point in August. And so we split that class, and now they're at about 26. But if we have 26 second graders, and if we end up with 26 kindergartners, we may, and these teachers know this. Mrs. Arnold knows this, Mrs. Goots knows this, Mrs. Watts knows it, and certainly Mrs. Thompson, who is studying these numbers with Patsy and the needs of these groups. And so there may be a change from, and when we, at the end of the school year, when we say, okay, second grade families, we're gonna keep everybody split, and these kids are gonna be with Mrs. White, and these kids are gonna be with Mrs. Arnold. I'm not sure they actually communicated that specifically, but the second grade families are expecting that. We told them, we said, now this could change. I mean, you never know what happens over the summer. And sure enough, we're having reason to look at those needs. If we keep second grade split, say kindergarten stays at 25, we're gonna look at those needs. We may need another para in that classroom. So right now, our staff we still need to hire one para because we lost 2, we've hired 1. We still need 1 para, may need an additional if that scenario takes place, then we need a cook, along with 10 bus drivers. So that's where we are for staffing. So some of those things I've been talking with Mrs. Thompson certainly on that. We're giving a little more time to see what the best deployment of our staff is.
Has there been any speaking of Patsy, has there been any discussion about lessening that load for her monitoring the diabetes?
We're gonna let Mrs. Thompson kind of evaluate that and support her however she feels in that. And then I'm gonna want Mrs. Thompson to kind of share with you, hey, here's what I see on a day-to-day basis throughout the day. And she'll determine whether it's workable or whether we need to look at something different. As you know, of course, we almost had a tragedy. I talked to Kendra yesterday. She's very pleased with Connor's progress. He won't be back for school. She doesn't anticipate at all. We'll put together a plan, probably a 504 plan to support his needs. We'll work with Madonna Rehabilitation on school between, while he's at rehab, before he comes back. When he comes back, we'll have a plan for his transition and his success here at school. She's optimistic and hopeful and positive about the progress that he's made. With regard to that, Mrs. Thompson, I think, is interested in pursuing more safety features from this side of Highway 20 to that side. If you think about it, we've got a library, a school, a swimming pool, a park on this side. And on the other side, we have the convenience store, and the Subway, and the ice cream, and half our community. And we do have a one lighted crosswalk, right in the middle of Chilvers, but she's like, why don't we slow traffic down at the Congregational Church and at the Lutheran Church and have lights flashing at either end of here? I said, you go, girl, you go to city council and you share with them. We about lost one, because maybe we're not alarming Highway 20 traffic, which might be going faster than 35. That they're coming up on a high student traffic area. This highway's twice as wide as it used to be. So another patron mentioned something about maybe we should do a bike safety thing with our kids. That's a great idea too. Maybe we combine those two things. So just there's been some conversation among some of the adults, certainly I know, but also, Mrs. Thompson went and saw Connor in the hospital, met him, met Kendra, and just feels okay. The safety of our kids is in the summertime. We still have a responsibility as school to help our kids be safe. So I certainly applaud her in that, but we're certainly fortunate and thankful that Connor's going to be back with us at some point this fall.
There's a sign, and maybe it's gone now, right there where you cross to go to Casey's on the north side, where that
Casey's
sidewalk
is
goes
speed
through the
bump.
park, or speed bump,
Yeah.
that goes through the park. There's a sign right there about 2 steps from the curb, so if there's a kid coming, he's behind that sign, you don't see him when you're coming from the east and heading west. If they step out of there, you have no chance of stopping. I did that in the truck one day, I was going along, didn't see anybody, all of a sudden there's a kid standing right on the curb.
Yeah.
He popped out from behind that sign.
That's just like when you're coming this direction, right there by that Clondalmers, and you pop over that hill,
Yeah.
wow.
That's why the crosswalk's not there, that's why it's down there in Speedway. In my opinion, it boils down to the kids being too lazy to walk down and then up. 'Cause if you go through here at noon, the crosswalk is in front of Speedway. If you go 100 feet west of there, in front of Subway, that's where the high school kids go across. It's a direct line to Subway.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it boils down to.
A little bit, some education, you're right, some education, some expectations.
You can't put a crosswalk at every intersection, it was a stop for them.
Parents, should say, kids, you should get off your bike and walk across the highway. Yeah, you should. Are they going to? They're not going to, but does that mean that we still don't maybe make an attempt at some type of bike safety presentation?
Well, I agree with that.
But, if you got your downtown business, I mean, it is, we're probably lucky we don't have more potential tragedies, especially during the summertime.
Maybe a little
With
bit
the young.
fence in between crosswalks too, to keep them from, because they have to crawl over the fence to jaywalk.
So.
And that's a state highway, so you have to go to Nebraska to get something on that
Yeah,
highway, you
they're
can't
probably,
go to town.
but it'd probably be a place to start in town, maybe town contact.
They
the
can't
state.
do nothing.
Well, I would expect they'd have some influence maybe with the state, but at least, but, I don't know, yeah.
Maybe our cops ought to be a little more active.
Okay.
Darren's just moving on.
Moving on.
You
Okay,
can
just.
go that city council.
I'll be.
Now, July 1 was the start of a new contract for me, so I got 20 new vacation days. I'm gonna burn 3 of them this week, so I'll let you know we're taking my parents to Nashville. I'll be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's all I have.
Geez, thanks for that.
What kind of souvenirs we gonna give?
Well, I suppose I can find something cheap.
I want a video of you singing at the Ryman.
Well,
You can stand up there in the middle and sing.
Elvis.
I'm not taking any pictures of me while I'm there.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on, you don't wanna post something on Facebook?
My mother, that
I
would
did
be
for you.
innocent.
We are adjourned.
One to nothing, Elaine. Well, you get
score updates?